Welcome to the Socially Unfiltered podcast,
where we'll be taking you along for our deep dives and doom scrolls through social media, entrepreneurship, and pop culture.
We're your hosts, Lex and Veronica, and together we're looking at everything through an unfiltered lens on the things that shape our everyday lives and society.
So grab a drink and get ready to explore the uncharted territories of online trends, share candid conversations, and uncover the stories behind the headlines.
This is the Socially Unfiltered podcast. Wait, we need to talk about your hair because on the last episode, I'm like, oh, Lex cut her hair with kitchen scissors.
Yeah, no, not chicken scissors.
With kitchen
Something
scissors.
Similar though.
Trimmed it, but you went back and here you are.
Yeah, and accidentally cut off like another 6 inches. My bad. Yeah, I just want to be you. I'm just slowly but surely cutting.
Be one person, and that's that. Like,
I'm cutting inches off until I slowly get above my shoulders. Yeah, it was kind of an accident.
I might do a little bit longer. Like, I like that length. I might put my longer ones in again.
Yeah, I think this is as short as I can go.
It's just nice to be able to like curl it easier. Like, it's kind of hard when it's really short like this to curl it. Like, especially the back. I feel like I can never, which the back of our head is not our business, but
it like always, yeah, literally what's going on back there is not my business. It just always trips me out how short your hair is in the back of your head when you cut it short. Like it always, like I touch a piece back here and I'm like, oh my God, I'm missing my hair. Like, where's the rest of it? But
that curl back here, it's literally like nothing. It's so hard.
Yeah, no, what goes on in the back of my head is quite literally not my business. Mariah even the other day was like touching the front of my hair and I'm like, oh, I don't like see the front of my hair like throughout the day. So that's not my business.
Yeah. The back of your hair? Or the front of your hair?
And the front.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm not looking at it. That's not my business.
You're right. Okay. I don't like my camera.
Oh, crack open a poppy.
A poppy. Yeah. Apparently getting sued, huh? So stupid.
Sure.
So stupid.
Sure.
It's
I
just
think
like
anybody who's like, I'm gonna crack open a poppy because I need some gut health.
Right. Like it actually, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, there's good ingredients in it. But I saw, B marketing or whatever, Be Better. What's his name? The one we love.
Oh, the guy. Yes.
He just made a video on like about poppy, and he said like when they first started it was all about like apple cider vinegar because that was like the topic, and now they kind of need to pick a direction because they did like a healthier soda or it's a gut friendly drink. He's like
probiotic. Yeah.
He's like, you need to pick like, is it a friendly's like similar to soda or is it a gut friendly drink? Because right now it's kind of like 2 in 1, and honestly their TikTok is not that good.
No.
I went on it today and I was like, they could be doing so much better.
Yeah. And I mean, for the amount of like PR that they send out, you would think that they had.
They're just like not, I don't know. They're trying to be like that funny type of personality, but it's just not.
It only works organically, not like forced.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to shut up because I love poppy, but.
Yeah, I've just never picked up a poppy and been like, I'm going to drink this for the health benefits of it. Like nothing that comes in a neon pink can, I think, have that many health benefits to it. Yeah. But it's definitely a soda alternative. Like I've been like, oh, I'm going to have a poppy because it's better than having a soda.
Right. Like I need a little pick-me-up in the afternoon, so I'll have a poppy. But I'm never like, oh, this is the only thing I need for prebiotics. Like obviously should be... Yeah, taking supplements and like all these other things. This isn't like you really think this one little can is gonna be your supplements for the day?
No.
I don't know. They could never make me hate poppy, but
yeah, that's the thing. Like I'm still gonna drink it. And it's like the whole thing is it's the amount of it that you have to drink before it starts becoming a problem. Like if you're not drinking 3 poppies a day, you're fine.
Yeah. It's like
having one like every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I also think there's a lot worse things we could be doing. So
yeah, we could be drinking Coke every day and
we could be doing Coke every day. We could be doing a lot worse than drinking a can of Poppi every day.
Sounds fun.
I miss when Four Loko had, like, actual crack in it.
Stop. Oh my god, yeah. And
I
Monster.
mean, I'm still on my energy drink kick because I cannot drink coffee right now. Like, it still
Oh
just
yeah,
makes me
you're
so
still off your
nauseous.
little coffee kick? Or
Mhm.
not kick, I guess. You curb. As I just get the espresso.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just off of the roster right now. Hopefully, it'll come back soon. It's never been this long, though. Like, I definitely always go through phases where I have, like, aversions to it,
Mhm.
but it's never lasted, like, this long. Like, it's literally been, like, 2 months.
That's crazy.
It just
Do you feel
it's
better? Like, have you noticed anything?
No. No.
Hey, it's Lex. We had to take a brief intermission because my dogs were barking very loudly, so we wanted to take this chance to tell you about our group chat. If you don't want to miss a beat of Socially Unfiltered, get insider updates, extra discounts, early access, and breaking news that can't wait for the podcast, all delivered right to your phone. All you have to do is text the word GROUP, GROUP, to 833-459-3349, and there's a secret waiting for you there right now. So if you're not already, get in our group chat where we'll keep you updated every day of the week instead of just when episodes come out on Mondays, and we can't wait to meet you there.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
I know, same. We were just fucking yapping. I don't know.
We were just yapping.
Let's get into this actual episode, I guess.
Yeah, let's chat about
Let's get it,
podcasting.
Yes, because we are approaching our 1 year, which is fucking crazy. Like this time last year, Lex and I were recording like 5 episodes to first put out, which is just wild. Like, I don't know how it's been a year. And I was sending Lex some of our old like TikToks that we posted from a year ago, and I'm like, who literally is that?
Who are those people?
Us. I don't know who they are, but
it do not be looking like us.
No, I would say we've grown up.
For sure. Yeah. I think we had a glow up. We matured.
Yeah, agree.
Maybe. I don't know. That we might have gotten less mature as time has gone on.
A little bit. Yeah, let's get into it. The tea on podcasting, because I feel like so many people think that they can just start a podcast and all they need is like a microphone and it's just so easy. And when you actually go to do it, it's like this shit is a lot of freaking work and you aren't making money from it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I want to start with like the literal most common misconception that both of us get asked and I think is very easily misconstrued when you have a podcast. We actually make $0 from this. We do not make money from showing up and posting podcast episodes, and it's extremely rare that somebody will, especially with a new podcast.
Right.
Like, I think there's a lot of other things we can talk about, like technicalities of like how we do podcasts and everything, but I feel like we get asked that question literally all the time. We're like, what's the best way to monetize? And we're like, we just do this because we like to do it. And that's why I think you really need to get into podcasting, is because you enjoy doing it.
Yeah, you can't get into this just being like, we're going to make so much money. And like, eventually, hopefully, that is your goal of like turning our passion into something that like does pay our bills. But for a long time when you're starting out, like this is not a paid gig and you have to really like be accountable, be passionate, be disciplined enough to show up every single week. Like we have shown up. I mean, we took 2 breaks, but not very long, but we have shown up week after week for a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is so crazy, but a lot of podcasts fail within the first like how many episodes? It was, I don't know what the statistic is, but it's like the first like they don't get to 10 or 20
digits,
even.
Yeah, I think is what it was.
Because it's so much work and it's so easy to just quit because of the amount of time and effort it takes to run a successful podcast, which whatever successful means to you, but like, you know, good audio, good visual, posting about the podcast, like staying up to date on all of the trends and what you're going to talk about every single week. It's a lot of work, but
Yeah, it's very easy to like run out of topics very quickly. I think anybody can start a podcast. I don't think everybody sticks with it because it does take a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time. And like we every week are sitting down. I feel like we've talked about a lot of this before too, but like every week we're sitting down like, okay, this is our time for recording. This is our time for like editing. This is our time to like meet and like figure out what we're going to do next. Like, not that it's about money, but I think there's again a big misconception that people think like just from posting episodes, you're getting paid. And again, we do all of that because we just love to do it. And I think we'll talk a little bit later in the episode about different ways you can start to make money from podcasting. And we can be super transparent and talk about some of the things that we do to keep our podcast moving forward without like relying on our listeners to hand us money for things. Maybe we can walk through what we do on a weekly basis to get an episode out, and kind of talk about like the technicality stuff. So I think this is the part that we've said before. I think like our shared Google Doc is literally our lifeline to this podcast. I think we've always done something along the lines, but what we do right now, I think, is the most helpful with everything. So basically, we just have a Google Doc. It's shared between both of us, and we map out what our episodes are going to be about. We map out like different things that we're working on. We have all of our logins saved. We have like all of our branding saved. Like it's literally a master Google Doc of everything that we do.
Which Lex created. So
which Veronica contributes to every week.
Contribute, but I cannot create.
That's just my neurotic tendencies. That's not anything special.
So, if you're starting a podcast with somebody else, make sure that you each have your like things that you're good at, because you can't be the one like either doing it all or like you both like to do one thing, which you could definitely like split everything up in half. But like I think a system that we have works, which we can get into like a system too. But
yeah, for sure.
I think this Google Doc is literally everything. Like we have our episode information, our episode notes, and then like below that we'll have all of our meeting notes. So every time that we meet, we jot down what needs to be done for that meeting, and then we cross it off of the to-do list. Like it's just nice to have everything all in one place instead of like going into things with just texting each other or something. Like or if you're doing it alone, like just freeballing it, which you definitely can. But it's nice for us to have like we don't script anything. We just write like, okay, this episode's going to be the tea on podcasting, how we do it, the platforms we use, just a couple of things that we're going to talk about so we don't completely veer off track. But yeah, that's like the number one thing I feel that does make it easier and successful for us every single week to be able to do this.
And I mean, like you said too, there's a million different ways you can do. Like I'm sure, and I know of, there are podcasts that even I listen to that literally they get on and it's like just a solo episode and they hit record and whatever they record gets published as the episode. Like you can do it that simply. Like it doesn't have to be this like crazy overproduced thing. And I don't even think ours is. Like I think ours is very lax compared to like how structured some can be. I mean, I know we started to add in like a little bit of structure, but like you said, we're not like scripting anything. We're literally just brain dumping. And whether you're doing it by yourself or with somebody else, like this Google Doc, even to just start like brain dumping out your episodes, like something that we do is like for our socially updated or for our catch up corner, like if one of us throughout the week thinks of something, we'll just go on that doc and like write a quick little note about it. So that way we try to not talk about a lot of the things before we get on and record so that it doesn't feel like we're just like repeating ourselves from what we talked about and planned. So there's literally a million different ways you could do it. Like we both had solo podcasts before this, and I mean, I know I did things very differently. I really wasn't like editing the way that we do. Like I literally was just hitting record and being like,
Same.
oh, I might have to like edit little things out like the dogs barking or whatever. But yeah, it was just kind of like whatever got recorded was what the episode is. And you can totally do that now. And again, it's not like our show's like super produced or like edited or anything, but even the way that we edit this podcast is very different from how I was editing my podcast, just because we do like video now. But that all like plays into it too. Like, are you going to have a video aspect of it? How can you like repurpose the different things? Like we put our full length episodes on YouTube, and there's really not that many people that are like watching the full length video. but we then use that video for like reels, and it's an edited video. So like, why would we not post it there if it's done and edited? So again, there's literally a million different ways you can go, and like figuring out what your capacity is. And exactly like you said, figuring out like who, if you're doing it with somebody else, who does what. Because exactly like you said, it's not always about like splitting it 50-50. It's sometimes just what works best with your system and like who's doing what, who enjoys doing what. And then we'll schedule a time to record. And then afterwards, I will edit our episodes, and then I send them to V, and she does everything with them from there. And that's how our episodes come out every week.
Yeah. The platforms that we use, and we've like had to test out a few different things. Like I think we talked about Riverside and how like it just wasn't picking up the camera quality, because we also use our phones to record the visual aspect of it versus just like shooting on your webcam. The quality is not as great. It's just if you're wanting like content for reels, or like you're wanting to post it to YouTube, things like that, like visuals matter to us, especially on social media. I feel like we want it to look the highest quality that it possibly can. Obviously, it's always better when we do it in person, because like our lighting's the same, and obviously if you can do it in person, or it's like just you solo, it's much easier. But
recording your podcast in person is a totally different ballgame than what we do. Like it's literally a completely different world of setup. It's a completely different world of recording. You have to be like very mindful of how your voice is picking up on the other person's mic. Like I scream when I talk. So literally you can always hear me in the back of Veronica's mic. Like I have to literally tone like my mic down like during the edit. It's this whole thing.
I know, I feel like every time we're in person, we never get like clear audio, and it's so hard because it's like all about the room that you're in, and like who's talking, or like if we're talking at the same time, or if my mic is picking up your voice, then you have to like mute me, and like it's just it's a lot in person.
Because we don't technically record like correctly in person. Like we just kind of work with what we have. Like technically, I think we're supposed to have like the splitter box, and it's supposed to all go to like one video and one mic, which like in a perfect world would be what we did. But that's more equipment that you're investing in. It's a different setup that like I'm not familiar with. Like that would be something that like we would have to learn. Like it just comes with a whole different process. So it's like we just kind of do what we can to get the episodes done in person, and then edit the best that we can.
Which we would do it. If we were in person, like we would do that. So if you're in person with whoever you're recording with, like definitely invest in that. But if you're virtual like we are, then this is how we do it, and it works.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say that, but go back to, we tried out a couple different platforms for recording.
Yeah, we tried Riverside, and it just wasn't great. Like it was great when we were recording on our webcams, but then the second we started using like higher quality, like our camera, it just couldn't, I think, keep up with it, like the quality. And we tried everything. So now we're on StreamYard, which has been amazing. And I know we talked about StreamYard before. Sponsor us, StreamYard, because we love you.
Like, sorry, I'm like choking. My eyes watering. I literally had to mute myself. Yeah, no complaints about StreamYard. Riverside made me want to rip my hair out, but
I know, and it was like so much because it kept pausing us. So like we were having to pause because one of us would freeze because of the camera. It wasn't like catching up. So we would freeze like every, I don't know, 10 minutes, every 5 minutes. So then when you're trying to get back to what you were talking about, it's like
so awkward.
Not me just freezing as I'm saying that.
I know.
Crazy. I'm like, oh my God, knock on fucking wood. I swear.
Not now.
No, right now, StreamYard. It was just so hard with like editing because it would take so much longer for Lex to edit the episodes and edit out the pauses, and then like trying to pick back up after.
Yeah, it just sounded so awkward going from like, and then like most of the time we would like, at least I know I would forget what I was talking about. Like if there was a 30-second to a minute break where I just like was supposed to hold on to a thought and then continue. And then it just like sounded weird in editing, like trying to like piece them back together. And I know we said on here, like, I think our episodes got like noticeably longer after that. Like we were usually able to get to like 35, 40, 45 minutes with the freezes and everything. And then when we switched, like now we are able to just kind of like go. Like We really don't edit that much out of our episodes unless we go off like in a conversation about the podcast or something that like is just us talking or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, it just became, I think, such a better platform for us to be using for the podcast. So highly, highly recommend StreamYard, and yeah, sponsor us, StreamYard.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, you get visuals, you can, like,
Mhm.
add everything into the back, you can do
Oh, yeah,
virtual
they have so
ones.
much better tools for, like
Yes.
especially, like, if you are, like, focusing on video for your podcast, like, you can, like, pre-upload all of your slides, your photos, your videos, so, like, even for us, like, when we're talking about, like, pop culture stuff, like, if there's something that just needs a visual, like, photo with it to go along with it, we can upload that, and then when we're ready to show it on the screen, like click that to present and it'll make us go away and then that's on the video. So there's like so many like production
We should
tools
do that.
and
We should, like, play around with that for
Mhm.
whenever we talk about something that needs photos
Yeah.
next, but I feel like
Mhm.
that would be cool to incorporate.
Yeah, we definitely should. I'm trying to think. Ooh, the two that ooh, I know
Yes,
exactly what
yes,
episode we're gonna use it
yes,
for.
yes,
Ooh,
that one.
I'll
We're
blurb that
excited,
part
stay
out.
tuned.
We have an episode coming that we are so fucking excited about that
So
I
excited.
think we
I'm,
talked
like,
more about
giddy.
yeah, no, me too. Like, I hate that we talked so much about it when the
I
topic came
know.
up, but there's still so much I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Okay,
we didn't, like,
anyway,
fully dive into
um
it all.
So yeah, so we use StreamYard to record. For editing, I was always editing just like in GarageBand when I was doing like my solo episodes because it was just the one track, one audio output. But now I actually edit our episodes in CapCut, which obviously is
Do you
not like
really?
yeah, because I edit just the
I didn't know
full
that.
video like in CapCut, and then I'll go into GarageBand and pull the audio off of the video.
Mhm.
So, yeah, which is, like, super not normal, like, I don't think it's normal at all for somebody to be editing, like, a full podcast inside of CapCut, um,
I mean, if
because
it
I
works,
was
it
doing, like,
works.
iMovie for a while, but yeah, no, now just CapCut, edit the video, add in our intro, add in our outro, and then that full edited video, I just rip the audio off and it becomes the episode of the week.
Mhm.
So again, that's like really not normal, I don't think, but it's what works for us. I just love CapCut as a video editor. It makes the most sense for us to edit the full video and then just make the audio of
Mhm.
it the episode instead of editing like the audio separately and then just pulling
No.
little clips for reels, which we were doing like
We did
right
that
at
in the
the
beginning.
beginning.
It just didn't make
Mhm.
sense because, like, when you would pull clips, it would just, like, what if we cut a part out and then it's included in
Yeah.
the clip, but then it's not included in the actual episode? Like, it just wasn't
Mhm.
really making sense to kinda do double. So I think
Yeah.
that makes way more sense, and I use CapCut for our, like, reels and all of
Mhm.
the content too, so we both use CapCut.
Yeah, and honestly, those are, like, pretty much the only platforms that we use. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really use like, it's literally our platform, StreamYard, to record, our editing platform. I mean, for sharing things, we just use, like, Google Drive. Like, we love Google Drive and Google Docs, like, that's where
Mhm.
90% of everything is. For socials, we're just keeping that in Notion, right?
Yeah, Notion, Canva. If we're
Mhm.
making
Yeah.
graphics, we use Canva. If we're scheduling stuff or, like, planning things, use Notion, but you can literally use Google Calendar, you can use
Mhm. Yeah, we use Google
whatever.
Calendar to, like, schedule our recordings and stuff. Oh, and then we use Anchor. Well, it's Spotify for podcasters now.
Mhm,
So that's how we publish our episodes. So, like, once the episode is ready, it used to be called Anchor, now it's called Spotify for podcasters, and what it does is, like, you can choose to publish your episode in a lot of different places. We chose I don't even remember why we went with Anchor to begin with, but it links to everything. So like when you publish it on Anchor, it'll go to Spotify, it'll go to Apple Music, it'll go to Amazon Podcast or like iHeartRadio app. Like it goes to literally everything that you connect. So it's super
mhm.
convenient. You're not like actively having to go in and like publish your episode to the 5 different platforms that it can go
Yeah.
on.
I think we just did it 'cause both of our podcasts were already on that, so we
Yeah.
knew how to, like, and it's, like, the number one, like,
Mhm.
platform, so I feel like we just were like, "Oh, well, we already know this,"
Yeah.
so
And something that we didn't put on here that I just thought about, equipment.
Yeah.
So like mics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know I spent a ton of money on like cheap mics thinking it was all you needed.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could go back and do anything, it would be to just invest in the mics that we have now, or
Yeah.
at least another one of the same quality. So we have the Shure M7. So the reason that I really like this mic is because you don't have to like hook it up to anything else. Like a lot of other mics, you have to hook up to, again, like the sound box. I don't really even
So
know what,
annoying.
I think
I have
switchboard or something.
Preface.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's
I did
called.
that when I had my Rode mic, because
Mhm.
when I had my solo
Yeah.
podcast, I was doing the preface or whatever. You plug it into that, and then you have to like tune it so
Mhm.
it sounds right.
Yeah.
It's just annoying.
Yeah, it's like a whole extra step that like if you're not familiar with like mic and tech setup, like if you are familiar with it, it's probably not that big of a deal to you, but to us it was worth the time that we saved to just be able to plug the mic in.
Yeah.
And so all of the controls for it come like on the desktop app that you download. So you're controlling it all like right from your computer instead of having to like turn the knobs and like make sure the switches are on and make sure things are plugged in the right place. Like that was just too much for my brain. But yeah, we, at least myself, spent a lot of money on like cheap mics thinking like they were the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the mic all along. It was that I wasn't recording correctly. So it was worth it to spend the extra money to just get this mic
Yeah.
from the beginning, in my opinion.
Yeah. So glad I got this mic. Now all you need is just to plug it in to your
Mhm.
computer, and it's so easy. Like
Mhm.
anyone could just plug this.
So much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so glad I switched over. I switched with Lex
Mhm.
because I was like struggling with my mic, and it was just so annoying, especially in person, having to like
Yeah, when we
record
went
it.
to Dallas the first time, yeah,
So
it
annoying.
was so annoying. I'm glad that we switched to make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an investment for sure. I think they're about $270 last time I knew their price,
Mm-hmm.
which again, we do not say that lightly. You very much, I mean, when I was doing my solo podcast, there were days when I just like didn't feel like setting up my whole mic that I would literally just record using like GarageBand on my computer mic. Like
Yeah.
there are so you don't have to again have this like crazy production and crazy setup. Like your iPhone can do a lot and your MacBook or desktop can do a lot already, but yeah, for us, it was worth it to just spend a little bit extra and just know that it was going to work the same every time we plugged them in.
Yep.
So I think that was worth it for sure. Definitely would go back and do that a little bit differently if I could.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just got rid of my 2 old mics when we moved into this house because I was like, okay, I clearly don't ever need these again.
Yeah, I sold mine to somebody else that wanted to start a podcast because I was selling it for like $100, I think. So I
Mhm.
think I bought mine for 200, but this one is an investment, but you have it for ever. Like it's
Mhm.
something that you're going to have for a very long time, and especially if you're very like serious about doing the podcast and you can financially like afford that, we definitely recommend, because it's just going to make your life so much easier than like getting something and then struggling so much, then not recording because you're like struggling so much and giving up. And
Mhm.
just anything that you can do to make your life easier, I feel is worth the investment for sure.
Mhm. And then, like, with the mic, there's not really much that comes with it. Like, we have I mean, I can kinda show it on here, but, like, we have floor stands for them, and then we both also have, like, the desk like, yours is on the desk stand right now, right?
Yeah, but I want to be like far back here, so I'm just like holding it because I want the mic to pick up. I honestly should have had you just ship the stand, but I was done.
I know, I didn't even think well, if we're planning something soon, I'll
I know,
just
that's true.
shove her in the
Yeah,
carry-on.
that's true.
But yeah, other than that, not really a ton of like physical equipment. Again, it gets a lot different if you're recording in person and
Mhm.
need all of the extras and like to soundproof a room and stuff. I mean, even the room that I'm in has like super tall ceilings and I have nothing on the walls. So I'm sure it comes through a little
Yeah.
more echoey than I would like. So, like, realistically, I should probably put some soundproof panels somewhere. But yeah, little things like that. And then, I mean, we have definitely invested in other ways too. Like, we have paid for branding shoots, we have paid for like trips to go record episodes in person.
Mhm.
We will plan to spend money like at studios eventually and record episodes there. And yeah, definitely have spent more money on this podcast than we've ever earned. But I mean, like you said, I consider like even these mics an investment to the point that like I literally want like our first live show to use these mics. Like that's how like sentimental they are
I
to
love these
us.
microphones. It'll just be us little microphones. I mean, they're really good, and yeah, eventually, hopefully, we do end up like working in a studio and being able to just have that done for us, because it is a lot of work when you're in person together. It's like you spend probably an hour just setting everything up and making sure like the angle's good and the lighting and the sound and like testing it and recording, instead of just you show up and they do it for you. Like it's worth that investment if you can make it. I think it just makes everything so much better. But at the end of the day, like we aren't in person together, so it's hard. I mean, when we were first starting this, like we really were debating on doing that studio, but it just like fell through. It just, I don't think it was meant to be at that point of in time.
Yeah,
but I think when something is meant to be, it will happen for us for sure.
Yep. We do what we do now with what we can, and we might
Hopefully you
have some
like it.
episodes that don't have the best audio. Yeah, but we've made it this far, and we've made it to a year basically. So we must be doing something right.
Seriously.
So tips for podcasting in general. I mean, again, it's going to feel like you're running out of topics, I think is one of the most, like if you can before you start, literally brain dump like 20 episodes, like 20 different topics for episodes, which is basically what we did at the beginning, and then just chose like what made the most sense at the beginning. And we've kind of worked off of that list up until now, but it's definitely easy to run out of things to talk about. So whatever you're starting your podcast about, like I almost want to say don't even make it like too niche. Like I think that's where we fucked up with our solo podcast was like we were literally only talking about social media
and posting about it and doing everything about social media. Yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot to just only be one niche.
Yeah. And there's ways to like talk about one thing without being only about one thing. And I think there's a place for that for sure. Like there was definitely a place for people who wanted a podcast just about social media.
Yeah.
But I think it's been very telling that we have yet to run out of topics for this podcast, but we were very much running out of topics for our old podcast. So it's a lot easier when we're talking about social media and entrepreneurship and pop culture and social media. Like there's so many different things
There's so
that
many.
we're talking about it. I think it makes it a lot easier as far as actually getting started. I mean, I think one of the best things that we did was just record a ton of episodes and learn what worked for us and our kind of workflows with everything, because we did things very different in the beginning. Like in the beginning, we went back and forth. Like episode 1 was all you, episode 2 all me, episode 3 all you. Like we just alternated, and eventually we were like, I don't think this is going to work forever.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out like who does best with what or what works best for us.
Yeah. Eventually, one day we will have an editor and a social media manager, so we won't have to do those things.
Eventually, our job will be literally to show up and record.
Yeah, a dream.
We're getting there.
A dream. That's all I want to do every day. So just want to come on and yap and go about my life.
Yeah. I want to take naps and I want to yap.
Yes.
And that's about it.
That's all about I desire. So sorry.
Some snacks, sweet treats.
Yes.
A poppy, if you will.
I think just if you're doing it with another person, like we already said, the figuring out what you two are gonna do and like making sure that both people are happy in what you're doing. But if you're doing it solo, like it's just so different to give advice. I feel like when it's like two versus one person, like one person, you kind of have control of the whole thing. But I also think it comes down to like your discipline, your motivation, and actually showing up every single week or bi-weekly or whenever you're going to do your podcast. It's a lot and it's hard. And as like a solo podcaster, I was skipping like months and weeks because like nobody was holding me
Mhm.
accountable, and I'm like, I don't know what I wanna talk about this week, like, it's not important, it just gets pushed to the side. So I think having the time, first of all, to be able to, like, commit to something, like, if you're gonna commit to something, if you're gonna say you're doing something, like, fucking do it. That is our biggest pet peeve, is when people say
Mhm.
they're doing something, but then they don't. So commit.
Mhm.
If you're gonna do it, like, know this is gonna be a lot of
Do
work. It's
it.
basically, if you're a social media manager, like, it is basically like another client and requires,
Mhm.
like, the same amount of attention, like, the hours it takes to edit, the hours it takes to, like, make graphics and, like, post on our stories and post to social media and, like,
Mhm.
engage and send text messages and make sure everything's up to date. Like, it is literally a client for us, and we take it seriously as if it were a client. So, like, it is a priority for us. But if you're doing it, like, together, 2 people, definitely figuring out, like, who's gonna do what and the roles, and make sure you're happy in that, listening to the other
Mhm.
person, and, like, making sure that, like, they also wanna talk about what you wanna talk about, and you don't have to agree on everything, and I don't know. Those are, like,
Mhm.
the biggest ones I feel like I can think of, but
Yeah.
just listening to each other, making sure that you wanna talk about the same things, or, like, allowing the other person to talk and, like, give their opinion, and taking turns. I think it's obviously, we both are, like,
Play nice.
yappers, and we're, like, talking over each
Yeah.
other, but
Uh.
yeah, those are, like, the couple tips that I have, I guess, but I don't know, just
Mm.
have fun, like,
Just
don't take
do
it
it.
so serious, just have fun.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the thing, like, I feel like the vibe took a complete turn when we went from having, like, what I think could be considered, like, a little bit more serious podcast to, like, this one. Like, I just have so much more fun with
Yeah.
this one, and, like, it's so much more enjoyable, and, like,
Mhm.
it is more enjoyable, in my opinion, doing it with somebody else. Because yeah, that's the other thing too, like, when you are doing it just by yourself, like, you're not only coming up with the topics and doing everything, but you're editing, you're promoting it. How are you gonna market it? Are you gonna have a social media account? Like, I was not only skipping episodes when I had a solo podcast, but I was skipping, like, I wasn't posting about it really, like, people were still finding it, and, like, it was, on my Instagram, but I did not have a separate Instagram for it. Like,
Yeah.
it was not planned out really. I mean, it was definitely planned out to the point that, like, I knew what episodes were gonna be about, but, like, other than that, it was kinda just
Same. Oh, and then
winging it.
guests, I think, too. If you're gonna have guests
Oh,
on your
yeah.
podcast, like, that's a good way of kind of figuring out, like, what your episode is gonna be about, but also, are you a good
Mm.
interviewer? Like, I think that is
Mhm.
the hard part too, is, like, do you know the questions to ask somebody, and, like, to make it natural and organic, and that's why we've literally only had,
Mhm.
like, 2 people on our podcast, because I don't know, I feel like we follow so many people on social media, and sometimes the way they are on social media is not the same as they would show up, like, face to face or on a podcast, and, like, we've had that
Mhm.
experience, and we only have people that we genuinely, like, trust and like, and know that they will actually bring value to our audience, and we're so
Mhm.
picky about that, like, we just don't have
Yeah.
guests. I mean, next week, we're having our special guest come back.
Yes, we'll have a special guest next week. She's coming back for round 2,
Yeah,
but I always feel so bad because 'cause I'm like, it's not us being like, "Ugh, we don't want you on the
no.
podcast." It's we just like to vet, like, anybody who's coming on here and speaking with us because I think we can be, like, a little, like, crazy sometimes, and it's just nice to know the type of crazy that we're inviting in to have a conversation with us. Like, we talk to so many people, and there are so many people that I'd be like, "Oh my god, come on and, like, tell us everything. Like, we wanna hear your story," but I don't know, I think we yap enough between the 2 of us that we have to be, like, picky with the people that we have.
Yeah. I just think it's tough because sometimes it's just, again, like, people are not who they say they are on social media. We had that
Mhm.
experience once, and
Yep.
it was enough for us to be like, "Okay, well,
Never
we
again.
wanna bring people on that, like, actually provide the value for all of you, because we work so hard to be able to, like, be those people for you, and to, like, bring
Mhm.
you the reality and, like, the truth, and be very honest and open about everything we talk about, that it's like, if we bring somebody on that is not like that, I think it's just,
Mhm.
it kind of, like, tarnishes our reputation, and, like, the way that
Yeah, for
we
sure.
show up for you, and we don't want that. So it's not like, "Oh my god, we don't have guests, like, we're too cool," like, we whatever.
No.
It's not that at all. It's just like we are building something that is really strong and our like foundation on trust and like ethics. And I think it's really hard to like open that and be like, I don't know what this is gonna be like. And what if it's like
we
bad?
just
And
have trust issues because
it's just
we
trust issues, guys. It's nothing
we just
personal.
have trust issues. No, it's nothing personal against you. We just have had a situation where we had somebody on and all of a sudden they were completely different than what we knew, and it was very awkward for us, and we just don't ever want that to happen again. Like, I'm definitely open, and I think you are too. Like, we will have more guests eventually. Like, I think there's a lot of people we would love to have on like as guests. It's just been a first year of learning for us and experimenting, and again, like, really, I think building the foundation of what we are doing and who we are. And now I think that we've had a solid year of figuring that out. I think it will be a little bit easier for us to choose some people to come on and talk with us.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we just always want to make sure that we have the best resources available to you. And that's not to say like somebody who's asked hasn't been like valuable enough to come on and have a conversation. Like, we again talk to so many fucking cool people that have so many cool things to say. We just want to make sure that in the midst of us loving to yap, we aren't just like bringing somebody on just to like talk. Like, we're bringing somebody on that has like a message that we agree with and that we think will bring something valuable to our audience and to our platform. So we just have been very picky for the last year, but I definitely think eventually we'll start to have a wider array of guests on.
Yeah.
Not to say we don't love the ones that have been on and that are coming on again next week.
Yes, very excited for next week's episode. But yeah, I completely agree. We're just like still learning. We're like growing. We're trying to figure out where we want to take things and like how we can continue to bring all of you the best like knowledge and tips and like bring personalities that we think you will also enjoy like listening to. We're not just trying to like fill an episode for the week. Like, I think when people have so many guests or like only guests, like I had somebody reach out to me and they're like, "Oh, we want you to be a guest on this podcast," and it all sounded great. And I'm like, they're like, "You really want to learn about your entrepreneurship journey and we're so inspired, blah blah blah." And it was so nice. And I'm like, I would love to do that. And then they hit me with a link to pay $300 to be on the podcast. And I'm like, that's so shitty. Like, do you actually care about the people you're interviewing, or is it just like a money machine for you to just
like, they basically were like, we're doing you a favor by letting
and I
you
was
come
like,
on our
I'm
podcast.
good. If I have to pay to be like that much money, especially I know some
Spoke to,
podcasts are like, whatever, I don't know, maybe they charge. We don't. Like some do.
Imagine. Brie, we're hitting you with a Venmo request
Yeah,
later.
like that's crazy. And I'm like, I'm not the one reaching out first. Like, there's a difference. But then people will reach out to us and be like, if you want to have me on your podcast, it's like $200. And I'm like, what? That's just wild.
Yeah, I'm like, no, thank you. Yeah.
It's just wild. But good for them, I guess. Get your bag, and if that works, it works, but not our strategy, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think eventually, like, for some people and for big enough podcasts, it definitely works. But yeah, no, when we're getting like random Instagram accounts that are like, hey, we'll come on and guest for $300. And we're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
You
what
don't
are you
even
talking
follow
about?
us, first of all.
Literally.
Like, do you even know our names? Probably not. So yeah, the biggest tip is being authentic.
Yeah. And that's why, like, again, we're picky with who we talk to, because everybody we've had on, we've known for like 2, 3, 4 years at this point. So, like, we know the conversation we're going to have. We know this person very well. Like, we don't want to just be having like, have you ever listened to a podcast where the guest and the person clearly don't know each other? Like, it's very awkward. And you can tell that like the guest maybe didn't look up anything about this podcast before they went on, and it's just awkward.
And also,
so we
the
try
one time we talked about of when we like had somebody on and it was super awkward, don't even go looking for that episode because it's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's deleted.
It's deleted. And everyone that we've kept up, we love and we support, and they'll probably be back.
So if your episode isn't deleted, it's not about you. And I promise the person whose episode is deleted has never listened to this podcast a day in their life.
No,
so
definitely not. So yeah.
Oops. Yeah.
Anyways,
So
wait, our
that's
last
okay.
point is making money with podcasts. So
Yeah, let's talk about making money with podcasts because I know I obviously started by saying like we don't make money from
yeah.
this and like in roundabout ways we do, but again, like just showing up and posting an episode does not make money and it'll be very rare situations that you'll find that happens because you have to like have enough listeners, enough activity every month for these platforms to be like, oh, we could start putting ads in front of their episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's lots of different ways to make money with a podcast. Again, I think in the spirit of transparency, we can talk about some of ours and also just some of the other ways that we might explore one day, or if you are exploring, might work better for you. So, one of the main ways that we make money from podcasting is obviously from our blueprint. And that, again, I don't even really look at that as like, oh, our podcast makes money. I look at that as something that we created under the name of Socially Unfiltered. And it just so happens that we also have a podcast together that we talk about it on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, again, we didn't go into making the blueprint being like, this is going to make us so much money from our podcast.
Right.
They all just kind of fit together. Like it's just something else that we have done
Yeah.
because, again, the podcast doesn't make money and that's okay. Like we're not complaining about it. We're just saying we do other things to
Mm-hmm.
start to generate something from the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of the main thing that we've done.
We've sold a couple like sweatshirts, but merch, it's more so like to get our brand like out there. Like we
Mhm.
really don't make like I think it's like $5 for a sweatshirt we sell or
Oh,
something.
yeah,
Which not
we
to
don't
say
make
like, oh my God, we're only making $5 from our sweatshirt. I'm just saying like you would think when you're selling like clothing or
Mhm,
anything, because we do drop shipping, which is like made on demand. Like when you buy something,
mhm,
like they'll make it and send it to you. We don't like create the merch ourselves. We create the design for the merch and
mhm,
then we use Bonfire. So if you're interested in getting merch, definitely use Bonfire. We've had a great experience. But we use
mhm.
Bonfire to create our merch and put the design onto like tote bags and sweatshirts. So if you want socially unfiltered merch, it's there. But we really don't make much on merch. I think we've made like
Yeah, no, like, when
$30.
you buy a sweatshirt, we're not pocketing
No,
$40, as nice as that would be, because there's so many different ways to go about it, so
right.
exactly like you said, we do what's called drop shipping with our merch, and that just means we don't pay up front for an inventory, we don't have to, like, choose a certain amount of a certain size, like, we get to pick the product, we get to design it, we list it, and then all different colors, all different sizes are available
Mm-hmm.
and you order it through the company and they send it to you. So there's obviously pros and cons to that. Like con is we make nothing.
Yeah,
Well, that's dramatic. We make very little compared to what you would if you were like purchasing a whole inventory and selling it
right.
to keep 100% of the profits.
It would just be like silly, I think, for us to at this point in time to just
Mhm,
buy all of this product and run out of sizing or like be like handling
mhm,
all of that as well. It's really nice to know that like Bonfire will do that for us and like we'll send
mhm,
you a thank you note that we
mhm,
created and it's just like something to get the brand out there and for you guys to like match with us and it's just kind of like a little
mhm.
community that we're creating. It wasn't created for like money aspect because like we said
Right.
we do drop shipping, but if one day we
Mhm,
end up doing like something like buying all the inventory and like handling all of that ourselves, then yes, that would mean more revenue for us. But right now,
mhm,
that just doesn't make sense and we don't want to do that. So we
mhm,
just wanted to be transparent. But yeah, right now, the only way our podcast, I think just us
mhm,
in general under Socially Unfiltered is
mhm,
the Socially Unfiltered social media manager blueprint that we created.
mhm.
So yeah, just being transparent about that.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's again like we didn't go into either of those things being like, okay, so the podcast doesn't actually make us money. Like, how else can we make money? Like, those were just two things that we wanted to do. And it's just a benefit if anybody who listens to the podcast either gets merch or gets inside the blueprint. Like,
Mhm.
again, those are just like bonus things to us. Like, our main priority is showing up every week on the podcast,
Right. Because if
whether
if our
something.
priority was money, all we would do is focus on the blueprint and
Right, and,
be
like,
those,
just posting about it.
coaches and just have a coaching
Mhm.
account, but, this is
Yeah.
our main thing is being podcasters, and we are social media managers first, podcasters,
Mhm.
and then we're mentors second, third. We are not full-time mentors or full-time coaches, and that is why we put
Mhm.
that out in the first place, because this whole podcast was built on the fact that there are just so many sleazy tactics out there and so many sleazy coaches that charge
Mhm.
thousands of dollars to learn from them, and we just are not those people, and we wanted to put something out that's genuine and will actually help new incoming social media managers and show them the reality of what it's like to build a business from the ground up. So yeah, we
Mhm.
didn't create that with money in mind. Ours is very low ticket, and it's a 25-day blueprint that gives you anything and everything you need to be able to start your business without making all
Mhm.
the mistakes that we did and all the money that we spent on coaches.
Yeah, 'cause we've made a lot of mistakes and we've
Mhm.
spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I was gonna say with Bonfire was we've spent the time trying out the platform so you don't have to, and we made sure, to order our own merch
Yeah.
from Bonfire before we published anything because we wanted to make sure, quality-wise, it
Mhm.
was up to our standards. So, we didn't just, pick
Right.
Bonfire and we were like, "Okay, merch is up and
Yeah.
running." We literally ordered it, made sure we got it, liked it before we ever
Yeah,
did
we
that.
paid
So
for our own merch because
we
we can't make it
we
$0, so we paid for our
Mhm.
own merch.
Yep. So those are 2 kinda, big ways that you can start to make money with your podcast is either well, I guess I shouldn't say make a lot of money with your podcast. There are ways that you can start to introduce, monetization into your podcast, and again, I don't even really consider those things to be a way that we're technically monetizing our podcast. They're just other things that we do that people from the
Yeah.
podcast might go over to. But, yeah, so, digital products, merch, and then I think another big one is, exclusive content, extra episodes, putting stuff behind a paywall. A lot of, podcasts will do, Patreon accounts,
Mhm.
where basically it's less than $10 a month and you're getting, 4 to 5 whatever extra episodes per month. I mean, this is something we've talked about too, if we had the capacity, we would do, you know, fuller length episodes behind a Patreon wall and the previews or whatever get published or whatever, but it's just not it's a whole separate episode you're planning for every week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but I think that's where once podcasts get enough of an audience, at least I know I'm a member of a couple different Patreons for extra episodes because there's just certain podcasts I love and want to hear from more often. So
Mhm.
that's a way to do that too.
Yep, and then ads in between your episodes or in the beginning or at the
Mhm.
end, or you have to qualify, I think, too, for ads.
Yeah, that's where it, gets weird because I think that's what people think are just, automatically there. Anchor used to do, ads directly through the platform that you could sign up for, but
Mhm.
they took that away. So now with your ads, Podcorn and Buzzsprout, I think, are the 2 that you can, go in and, find ads to be matched to, and we've looked through a couple of them and just didn't think they were great matches. So the alternative is just kinda coming up with a list of brands or products that you would be willing to do ads for it and
Mhm.
pitching your own podcast to them, and it's just, a lot of legwork, it's a lot of emailing and, keeping up with them and what are the deliverables and getting things approved, so we just have never spent a ton of time diving into that either. But yeah, definitely lots of different ways that you can start to see your podcast start to be monetized.
Yeah.
But I think it really all boils down to, you have to be in it just because you enjoy podcasting,
Yes.
because especially in the beginning I mean, we didn't even make the blueprint until what, January of this year?
Yeah.
So we went the entire first 6 months of our podcast not having anything that we were redirecting people to.
No. Just out here yapping.
We were just yapping for the fun of it.
Still
I
are,
mean, we still
baby.
are, yeah.
But yeah, I think we covered everything, and yeah, that was good. And next week, we cannot wait to have our favorite guest come back to celebrate our 1-year
Mhm.
anniversary. Should we say it? Bree from Socially Bree.
Yeah.
If you guys know Bree, we are so excited, and we'll leave the topic a secret.
Have to wait a whole week. Oh, actually, If you join our texting list, you get a preview of our episodes on Sunday nights from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll have all of that linked below. But yeah, any questions or anything about podcasts, slide into our DMs. You can find us on Instagram. Everything's linked below. And we'll talk to you next week when we're back with Bree.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging. If you aren't sick of us yet, jump over to the Socially Unfiltered Pod Instagram.
Check out the social media manager blueprint.
And everything else you'll need can be found in the show notes.
And we'll see you next Monday.